Hi, my name's George Hingston. I'm going to be tying the olive Matuka, which is a New Zealand streamer fly. You can tie it anywhere from probably a size 10 down to a 4 or 2. Probably works better in slightly larger configurations because we're trying to imitate a bait fish. The way we're going to start here is thread it up, and then we're going to weight the fly. So we're going to just start and tie that in at the beginning and wrap that thread all the way down and pretty much right down to the gap, and tie off that excess. Non-lead weight for it to get that to sink down in the current. You can fish it several different ways. One, throwing it at the bank and pulling back real fast and stripping, or letting it drift across in the current. So we're going to wrap that all the way up to the front, trim that off. So we're going to finish wrapping that thread up around the weight and bring it all the way back to the gap in the hook, and that should hold all that in place. Next we're going to tie in the ribbing, which is medium copper wire, and we're going to place that all the way along the shank. We're trying to create just extra weight wherever we can find it, and so we're going to tie that in there. And the main body is going to green chenille, a medium as well. And we're going to stick that up along the length as well, and again that'll just increase the diameter of the body just a bit. I'm going to take that green chenille and form the body. Tight turns. We want to leave some room at the head there because we're going to put in a little bit of a hackle at the front. So a couple of wraps to hold that in place. And we'll just snip that off. This is the wing, and this is what makes the whole fly, is to have the tail, and I've cut out the feathers on the bottom. The overall length of this piece should be twice the distance, twice the length of your fly. And that cutout bit is going to fit right over the top, and we're going to tie it down with the copper wire. On your right hand, pull your feathers forward so that you have a nice little gap in there, and that's the first place to wrap that wire in. And we're going to bring that around, and we're going to make spirals up to the head, and each time we come across, we're going to try and separate those feathers out a little bit. You can wiggle it through and get it to grab, and then bring it around again. Same thing, lay it down, pull those up again, get that to fall in between. That's going to come around, and we're going to tie that off. Snip off that extra ribbing. Got the tail hanging free. It's going to move nicely in the current. The final bit is taking a small hackle. We're going to tie this in at the top. I'm going to snip that little piece of hackle. Now we're going to tie that off, trim off that tip, and we'll finish with a few knots. Tie that. Just go back in between those wraps of the copper wire and just pull up any of some of the feathers that have been trapped underneath there. It's basically a dorsal fin and then a nice wavy tail. And cement to finish it, and you can do this with different colors, and that has to do with whatever bait fish is common to the stream you're fishing. In New Zealand it was a thing called a bully, dark green and a tan, so these are sort of traditional colors for it. It just mimics something small, and bigger fish seem to love it. Hi, my name's George Hingston, and I'm going to be tying the New Zealand caddisfly, which is called a Hare and Copper. It's used as a dead drift or as an emerger on the swing. I learned to tie flies while I lived in New Zealand. I was there for 10 years. I'm tying this on a number 12, and anywhere usually from number 12 to up to 16 would be sort of the normal sizes you would see this fly in. So I'm just going to wrap that in there. Take that off. Take some non-lead weight. And we're going to get that on there. Tight wraps up to the head.
Why non-lead?
We're using non-lead here because many states outlaw it, for starters, and so for no other reason than it's bad. Consequences of having lead in the ecosystem is, worth it to get rid of that sort of thing. So got that on there. Going to wrap the thread up over that to sort of keep it in place. Some people toss a little bit of the head glue, cement onto that just to make sure it doesn't start to wander around on you. So we're going to bring that thread back towards the gap, and we're going to tie in the tail. You can make the tail pretty much anything you want. I'm just taking usually something off of the bottom end of a matching color, and just take a small amount as feathers, and we're going to tie those right in at the back. They're in there nice. I'm going to trim off whatever little excess we had. Next up, we're going to do a little bit of dubbing for the body and catch that in my dubber. I want something about that length, and I just tie that in like that. Bring that around. I'm going to lay in my ribbing, which makes it the Hare and Copper, and we're going to just tie that in and bring that up to the front. For the dubbing, I'm going to rub some wax on there. That gets everything to stick a little bit. And we're going to take out some of this chopped up hare's rabbit fur with guard hairs in it. So you just want to kind of get that in there a bit, in between the two, and you start to twist it, and it sort of holds that in place, and you kind of just work it around. But once that's sort of set, you can take that and wrap that around. Now, they said in New Zealand, by the end of the day, if you could keep this thing on, it started to work better and better the shaggier it looked. Wrap that up at the top, just clip that off. You wrap the ribbing normally, and the way I was taught was that in reverse direction to how you wrapped the layer before it, and you just bring that up in nice tight spirals. And we'll tie that off. Snip off that ribbing. And then you just form a nice head. And then just tie it off with a few knots. Again, actual bead head or glass beads work as well. Different color tail. A lot of variety with this particular one. It's simple to tie. Cut off the thread. All you're doing really is just fluffing this thing and pulling out that rabbit fur with a little touch of head cement to finish it off. The working fly of New Zealand, it's the most common thing you'll see. Catches trout in all sorts of situations, browns, rainbows, mimics that small caddisfly, whether it's emerging or just lost in the current and drifting straight down. The Hare and Copper.
I see thy bright shores in the sunlight, the heather of hills and the rising of morn. But all in grace he must cross east and the moon. to run the wild hills